Hello, friends. This is John, your host from Dairyland Frieds and Packers Blitz. And I want to tell you, I've been using Alitu for my podcasting for over a year now, and I love it. And if you're looking for an easy and convenient solution for creating podcasts, Alitu is definitely worth checking out. It's a great tool for podcasting beginners and professionals alike who want to make their creation process easier and faster so they can focus on other areas of their show. And I use it for editing and I love it. I can edit something really quickly and get my show out there and get it to my audience. So please try Ollie too. You can try it a week for free. They have a 30-day money back guarantee. So you really have nothing to lose. And like I said, I love Ollie too. Check it out and you'll love it. Hello, Packer fans. My name is John, and this is my good buddy Andy. Yes, he's back. And you are listening to the Packers Blitz podcast, the podcast done by two diehard Packer fans who survived the dark times of the 1980s, ooh, spooky, and Packers football, and lived to talk about it. This podcast is dedicated to the world's greatest fans, Packer fans, and welcome back, Andy. We missed you.
Thank you so much, John. It's good to be back from assignment. I went into the darkness and came out ready to retire.
Ooh, yes.
Just kidding. So just a teaser, Packer Blitz fans, this episode of Packers Blitz may be a little bit spookier than normal tonight. Right, Don? And John,
Yeah.
great job on episode 43. It's been over 2 weeks since we last did Packers Blitz together. To be brutally honest, I needed the time off. Packers fans, Packer Blitz fans, I'll tell you why in a little bit later in our podcast. So John, how have you been, buddy? I've missed our playful banter, all that football talk, all the Packers football talk. So
yes, and you saw my banter with the quick episode I did. I told Andy, I texted him while he's on assignment, and obviously he's like, yeah, go ahead, because after that Raiders game, I was just like, I cannot, I gotta get on. Gotta let my feelings out. So I already have let my feelings out. Listen to last episode, Packer fans, Packer Blitz fans, and you'll see what I'm talking about. But I want to give Andy the floor or the mic and let him kind of take over this episode since he has a lot to talk about.
Yeah, boy, do I.
Yes, go.
Yeah. Again, great job on episode 43. I listened to it a couple of times, so great insight. So very interesting. So everybody, almost 2 weeks ago, I left the wonderful state of Wisconsin to be literally lifted up euphorically and spiritually by the 550 or so balloons that flew skyward during the Albuquerque International Balloon Festival in Albuquerque, New Mexico. After witnessing the debacle of a loss at the hands of the Lions at Lambeau, it was great timing. To be so downtrodden, it was great to be lifted up again and inspired by witnessing this totally awesome spectacle and awe-inspiring event. Flying high, soaring, majestic balloons galore. An Area 51 alien balloon, a Yoda balloon, a T-Rex balloon, a Great Britain flag balloon even. Every multicolored patterned balloon imaginable. By the way, the Darth Vader balloon didn't make it very far and crash landed. This is what happens. This is what happens to anything that crosses over to the dark side.
Use the force, Luke.
Then a day later on Monday night, I listened to the game. To the game on the Packers radio network with Wayne Larrivee and Larry McCarron.
Yep.
Yes, everybody. I couldn't watch the game. More on that later. Just a quick side note, John, remember when Chicago Cubs legendary broadcaster Harry Carey would announce baseball games?
Hey, check out the kid in the sombrero.
Exactly. And call home runs that were just fly ball outs. Yeah. John, remember that?
I remember that.
You could just tell that Harry was not really there at the moment, in the moment. Right. He was not really there at all, was he? So, John, you have any comment on Harry?
I'm another Budweiser.
Exactly.
3.
So that's how I felt listening to our two NFL radio announcers. They're not interested in the game and not paying attention to it.
Oh.
At the end of the first quarter, with the Packers actually leading 3-0, Wayne Larrivee couldn't even get the score correct. Wayne, the score was not tied at 0-0. It was almost as if he was trying to will us to lose the football game. I know that it was a slip of the tongue, but no one corrected him either. Yes, what? I'm calling you out, Wayne Larrivee and Larry.
No one corrected him.
Nobody did. Awful. Get the score right. Awful. It's radio, not TV. Packer fans listening, like me, cannot see the score. Duh. So anyway, I figured I'd just bring that up because that part kind of irked me a little bit because it's like, hey, we're winning. We're ahead 3-0 at the time. And for some reason, they just couldn't get it right. So,
well,
comment about those two?
So I had Buck and Aikman, and they were so bored. They were basically talking about sometimes like baseball stuff. So you think you have it bad? I had to listen to Buck and Aikman talk about the Texas Rangers and how Aikman is a big fan of the Rangers and they're in the playoffs. And I'm like, no. And McCarron has been there forever. He is our Harry Carey, in my opinion. Wayne Larrivee, I sometimes I've listened to him a couple times after like post show, and you can tell he's maybe getting a little long in the tooth. It's an old saying that us old timers use that he doesn't understand. Like he'll read the box score after the game, and he'll be like, Packers 130 yards. Oh no, that was the Bears 130 yards. So yeah, it's okay. But he's not as bad. Just really quickly, side note, he's not as bad as Ian Deerdorf, who was the worst at calling football games. He was really bad. And there's a few other guys. When Joe Montana, he did it back in the day, he was horrible. There's a lot of bad announcers out there. So yeah. Anyway, you didn't have to watch
it for another show, won't it, John?
We'll have to do that. I miss Madden. That's all I have to say. I miss John Madden. That's all I have to say.
Yeah. So I had the uplifting balloon experience, and then I had the demoralizing 17-13 loss to the Las Vegas Raiders.
Oh my God.
So yeah, I figured I'd just talk about some of the uplifting highlights. And again, there's not many of them. And you were probably, that's why I put in parentheses, not many, John.
No.
There weren't many uplifting highlights. I was really struggling, but the first thing, Anders and Daniel Carlson became the first brothers to kick against each other in an NFL game in 36 years. 36. By the way, our guy, Anders Carlson, was perfect. His brother was not.
Yeah.
Daniel had Daniel had one field goal blocked and missed another when his 52-yard attempt hit the upright with 2 minutes remaining. Anders won the battle of the kicking brothers, and that's uplifting. About the only thing. So another thing I wanted to mention, quarterback Jordan Love ran twice for 37 yards. So that was great. Tight end Josiah Dogora actually caught a 19-yard pass. That's amazing.
That is amazing.
Wide receiver Christian Watson caught a pass and turned it into a 77-yard gain. So that part was good. He didn't score on the play, but he got a 77-yard pass or made a play, right?
Yep.
It's always nice to make a play or two over 8 yards, which I will get to later. Rudy Ford had 9 tackles and another INT. He has put together a really good 2023 campaign for the Packers. That is uplifting. The Packers pass rushers had 4 sacks with 4 veteran players, each getting one. Gary, Clark, Smith, and Enigbare.
Oh boy, Clark.
Uplifting. Okay. Some of those veterans making some plays for us. Great job. Any other uplifting highlights that you could think of? I know it's tough, John. Anything else you can think of? Okay. Yeah.
Moving on.
Exactly. So now we're going to talk about the demoralizing lowlights. To be brutally honest, I wondered why I was so bored during the game and waiting for something exciting to happen.
You're not the only one.
Well, here's why. First half, Packers offense had 3 plays over 10 yards. The second half, they had 2 plays over 10 yards. Not any offensive plays in the fourth quarter over 8 yards. Not a single one. What does this tell us, Packer fans? It tells us this. The Packers offense is not able to generate chunk plays, cannot push the ball down the field, and is not explosive at all. All this against a lower tier defense.
Yeah.
Demoralizing. John, any comment on that? That's pretty bad. That's pretty bad.
So I'm not going to harp on it too much because I talked about it for over 20 minutes on my last episode.
Almost 30.
You listened to it.
Yep.
So it was just, it really reminded me of when we just couldn't. Oh my God, I hate to say this. I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to. In the 80s, where it was just, are we a high school team? Like it seemed like JV against varsity. That's the way this game seemed to me. Not professionals, because both teams look like they didn't want to be there. Both teams look like they didn't care. Both teams look like, even Devontae Adams, which I mentioned, he was like, he had to be hurt because he was like, kind of lollygagging around, like that word lollygag. It's just like, can we just go? Everybody go home. It just was a very uninspiring game by both teams. I do give AJ Dillon a little credit. He did, which I didn't give him credit at all in my last episode. At least he was running a little harder, and he was I shouldn't say trying, because I know he's trying, but he just seemed different. He looked like, someone put him on notice, but still, he's not a feature back. How many times do Andy and I have to tell you, Packer fans, Packer Blitz fans, and Packer management, he is not, I repeat, not a feature back. He will never be a feature back. It's never going to happen. So why are we treating him like that? We got to find somebody else. And just really quickly, I don't know if you're going to talk about this in news but I'll get ahead of ourselves here. Is we signed James Robinson. If you guys are like, who in the hell is James Robinson? Well, you should remember him because when we played the Jaguars 2 or 3 years ago, he ran wild all over us. And the Jaguars almost beat us. We had to come back on the Jaguars and beat them. And we barely beat them. And this is when Trevor Lawrence was a rookie quarterback, had a lot of young talent. So right now, I think with the signing of James Robinson, puts AJ Dillon on notice that he better start stepping up and he better start doing something. James Robinson is not the answer, but if he can give us a spark and give us something that gets us 5-6 yards, on first down and moves us down the field, oh man, that would be awesome. So anyway, that's what we don't have right now. We just don't have any spark. There's nothing. There's just a bunch of guys out there. And I don't know what to say other than that. So go ahead.
Yeah, on the AJ Dillon front, a lot of people have been asking the question, what's happened? What's happened to AJ Dillon? Because they go back to his days at Boston College, a powerful runner, almost like a bowling ball, just bowling over guys. They compared him, maybe not to the greatness of, like Derrick Henry, but they did say he had some of those qualities. Derrick Henry, I would say like maybe not even a Earl Campbell, but in that same mold where they seek out the defenders and punish them for even trying to tackle them.
And so I'll say,
again,
and I've
in this
really
Halloween,
quickly,
in this Halloween really kind of themed episode, it's kind of like you're trying to scare them, not to tackle you, right?
Yeah, that's awesome. But like I said, Andy, ever since he had a kid, he's changed. I've seen it. After his kid was born, he's a different guy. And, I get it. And we talked about this on a couple episodes where, what do you want to do for your son? So he has a son. Do you want to leave a legacy where your son can go on YouTube and be like, look at my dad, he was kicking butt and running over people? Or do you want to leave a legacy of tripping over your own feet, like not catching the ball, like fumbling, like not running hard? Like, which do you want? Well, the obvious one is you want to show your son, look what dad used to do. Dad was kick ass down there. So, but ever since he's had a son, he's changed. He's not the same guy. And that's a shame, So he has to make a decision because you can't be halfway in the NFL. You cannot be halfway in. You got to be like, I'm all in or I'm out. We'll see. We'll see. So anyway, that leads you to Jordan Love.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked about the demoralizing offense, and then the leader of that offense, of course, is Jordan Love. And he had 3 interceptions, just like you mentioned on the last podcast. His inaccuracy, his regression. In fact, according to Paul Brettel of US Today's Packers Wire, and he quotes, since the New Orleans game, Love has completed just 55.5% of his 110 pass attempts. He is averaging only 6.2 yards per attempt, which over that span ranks 28th. And he's thrown 2 TDs and 6 interceptions. In truth, in fact, Jordan Love ranks 34th out of 33 eligible quarterbacks in completion rate. And I saw a different article just a few minutes ago, and they said he was 33rd, but that's bad. He's at the bottom of the league in completion rate, which is kind of demoralizing. So any comments about that, Jen? I know you talked about that in episode 43.
I already talked about it. It comes down to this, just being simple. and getting him involved early in the game, short passes, dink and dunk, easy passes, what he can throw, which would, I can't believe Lafluer isn't doing this. You say, what is your best pass? Oh, it's a down and out. Great. We're going to run down and out until people stop us. And, that to me is smart football because it's simple, right? Okay. Hey, whoever, Musgrave, Dobbs, whoever's healthy, you're going to run it down and out, and that ball's coming to you. Better catch that ball. And then get his confidence going and everything like that. Because it's just, oh boy, it was just too hard. And, the other thing too was just his last pass that he threw to, which they didn't show this, there was pass interference against the Raiders, but against Christian Watson, but they didn't call it because the ball was just right to the safety or corner. But the corner or safety from the Raiders pushed Christian Watson. You can see it in the replay. And the refs are like, I just want to go home. So whatever. They didn't call anything. It should have been pass interference, so we should have got the ball in the one. But oh well, you're not getting all the calls. So anyway.
Yep. So I'm going to skip ahead a little bit, John, and address this right now about the simplifying thing. So also, according to Packers Wire, Matt Lafluer can help his offense out as the play caller, specifically by simplifying things.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is what Packers Wire says, and they're catering to us Packer fans when they're saying that. According to former Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers, who watches the Packer games, by the way, somebody needs to start simplifying the Packers offense. He said it too. John, again, in episode 43 of Packers Blitz, you said keep it simple. You've said that several times. Remember, Packers fans, the NFL is an offensive league. Matt Lafluer had been an offensive coordinator for 2 NFL teams, Los Angeles Rams and Tennessee Titans. His specialty should be offense. I'm getting worked up. He needs to get the offense back on track. He has no excuses. Matt Lafluer needs to turn around this demoralizing Packers offense. He better get his own side of the ball right. John, any more comments on that? So I skipped ahead a little bit.
Fired up here. Let's come on. Okay. But this is football. This ain't checkers. This is football, people. So I did a rant already on it. It was, again, it was last year or the year before when we were struggling, and Rodgers went to the podium and he said, look, we got to simplify things. We got to keep things simple. We were going to talk about Max Crosby being defensive player of the year, but the hell with Max Crosby. We're not even going to bring him up because I already brought him up when Tucker Kraft whiffed, totally whiffed on a block on this. I think it was like a jet sweep or something they were running, some gadget play. And Tucker Kraft just totally misses Max Crosby. And Max Crosby's like, oh, that was easy. So like, Jesus.
Yeah, but in episode 42, John, we said Max one of the keys, you have to slow down the game wrecker who is Max Crosby. Instead, he was named AFC Defensive Player of the Week for a reason. Yeah. He recorded a sack, 4 tackles for loss, and 4 quarterback pressures. That's demoralizing. So Max Crosby's success is a reason for us Packer fans to be concerned about the offensive line.
Yes.
And Luke Musgrave, by the way, his blocking abilities.
Yes, let's talk about him. Yes, Luke Musgrave. Come on.
Yeah. What John and I and many others thought was the strength of our team may be one of its biggest weaknesses. We might be totally wrong. During the past 2 games, Jordan Love has been pressured on nearly 50% of his dropbacks against Detroit. We already talked about it. And over 1/3 of them against Las Vegas. And Las Vegas isn't very good, except for Max Crosby on that line.
Yeah.
That pressure of course, has sped up Love's internal clock and thusly caused him to not be able to make it to his second progression, impacting his decision making, which has led to more forced throws at times. The offensive line pass protection has been a real problem. So has the run blocking because the Packers averaged just 3.5 yards per carry, which is 25th in the NFL. Love has been facing a steady dose of second and long and third and long situations because of that, because of us not being able to rush. Now the opposing pass rush can pin its ears back. The Packers offense can only run so many pass routes where 7+ yards are needed. The offensive line play has been demoralizing as well. So, John, any comment on that?
No, you hit it on the head, and I already talked about it. So, if we thought it was a strength, we're wrong. It is not. So, what are you going to do?
So, John, you were right. The Packers inexplicably lost again. You were right. You said they were going to lose. I was in denial. Oh. They lost. You were spot on calling out Joe Barry's boneheaded alignments. 10 yards off the ball near the red zone with catches by Davante Adams for the first down and Jacoby Myers TD. It was easy, way too easy. You were spot on calling out Luke Musgrave's lack of yak also.
Oh my
when
God.
He was making catches a la Bubba Franks, which we talked about at nauseum. Just go right down. He's caught whatever illness or sickness from Josiah DeGuara, you know, with you just like you see a defender and you just go to the ground.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And I didn't even watch the game, but people were saying this. That he just went down. And that's why I think that's why because Lafluer was so upset with him, right? Wasn't that part of it? He's missing assignments and then he's not, doing what he had to do to get first downs and make extra yardage or whatever.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. You're spot on about Jordan Love's 3 interceptions and no touchdowns during the game. That didn't help. Packers Blitz fans, go back and listen to John again in episode 43. So John and I are now we're both 3-2 predicting Packers games on the season. So what? But we're 3-2 so far, just to let you guys know. John, the Packers had every opportunity to beat a perennial below 500 team and couldn't find a way to win. Win the turnover battle. Make a game-changing play. Play smart. Out-physical the other team. Out-coach them. Absolutely nothing worked. Absolutely nothing happened. So, John, what the hell's going on out here?
What the hell's going on out there?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Vince Lombardi. It's one of his favorite quotes.
Yeah. What the hell is going on out here? So any comments on that? Let's just move on, right?
Move on.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about my spa retreat out of darkness and into the light, just very briefly. So I'll give you guys a little bit of synopsis on that. Packers fans, Packer Blitz fans. Not only did I spend time in Albuquerque, but I also went to a Japanese-inspired spa retreat in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Yes.
All right.
It's called 10,000 Waves. 10,000 Waves. I didn't even have access to the live video broadcast feed of the Packers game. No local stations, no apps, no nothing. Cell phone usage was limited. They told us that they didn't want us to use our cell phones here and there. It was basically a minimalistic existence of total relaxation. That was the main goal of the spa. After 3 days at the spa, and similar to Aaron Rodgers' retreat into darkness, I came out of the darkness of a sauna and saw the light of a wonderful sunny day. That is when I had a disturbing revelation.
Oh, no.
And here it is.
Oh, boy.
The Packers just aren't all that good.
Mm.
Vegas odds makers need to get smarter and stop picking the Packers to win every stinking week. And John, not to cut ahead, but they're doing it again. I think we're favored by a point or something. Okay.
I know.
Okay. So now we're gonna pivot, John, and unless you have a comment on that little tidbit when I came out of the darkness of the sauna. Did you like that?
I like that.
Yeah, they had a couple really nice saunas. Yeah, actually, I came out of the sauna, looked up, bright sunny day, and I had that epiphany, that revelation. But unfortunately, it was a disturbing one, wasn't it? So
yes.
Okay, so we're going to talk about some ghosts, right?
So folks, Packer Blitz fans, I don't know if you know this, but I'm actually a host for a paranormal podcast called Dairyland Frights. And very good. And that podcast is about the paranormal, ghosts, a lot of things dealing with mystery and creepy stuff. So it's a lot of fun. I love doing both podcasts. I love doing Packers. So my love for the Packers and paranormal are great. So what I wanted to talk about really, really quickly is people don't understand about the Packers and the area of Green Bay. Did you know, Andy, that a gentleman whose name was John Jacob Astor the Fourth founded part of Green Bay, and he started framing the city's current downtown on top of a native burial ground. So there are a number of businesses, homes, different places that are haunted and full of ghosts. So, but what I wanted to talk about a little bit, the people always ask me, reach out to me, and they say, "Well, Lambeau Field's been there, for a very, very long time. Is it haunted?" So the question is, or the answer is, I should say, yes, it is. There have been spirits of Vince Lombardi, and what people have said with Vince Lombardi is, one story was a gentleman went into the bathroom and he was washing his hands early in the morning. I guess it was one of the custodial workers. And he looked over and he saw this older gentleman with this suit on and a fedora. And he was looking in the mirror and talking. And the guy was like, well, wait a minute, this is really early in the morning. How'd this guy get in here? I don't recognize him. So he leaned over to this guy and said, "Hey, you can't be here." And when he leaned over, the gentleman just disappeared. And when he went back out of the bathroom, he went, and if you've been to Lambeau, and if you haven't, please go. There's tons of pictures of Lombardi. He came out of the bathroom and he looked and he said, "Hey, that was the guy." And he didn't know much about Lombardi at that time. I guess he was a newer guy who was just working. This is a long time ago, this story. And he was like, "That's him. That's the guy I saw in the bathroom." My other favorite story is actually two favorite really quick stories is, again with Lombardi, is this kid was with his mom and they were doing the tour and everything. And he said, again, I wanted to go into a room where supposedly Lombardi would do a lot of his thinking before the game. And now it is actually, they made it Lombardi's office. So if you go on the Green Bay tour, now it's Lombardi's office and you can sit at actual Vince Lombardi's desk, which I did sit in his chair at his desk, and they have all of it laid out. It's brilliant. It's a really cool tour. Well, anyway, the little boy went underneath the desk and he was just sitting there. And all of a sudden, someone sat in the chair and he was like, "Oh, it's probably my mom or somebody. I got to get out underneath there." So the tour had already gone on, and the little boy came out from underneath the desk and he looked And there was this older gentleman in a suit, and he just looked at the little boy and he smiled. And the little boy said, "Oh, hello." And the person just who was sitting in the chair just smiled again. And so he said, "Well, I better, he heard his mom calling. So better go and join the group and stuff." So this little boy had no idea about Vince Lombardi, and they're going on the tour and they're talking about Vince Lombardi. And the little boy grabs his mom's hand and says, "That's the guy at the desk I just saw." And his mom was like, "Yeah, sure. Oh, okay. Come." He goes, "No, I really saw it." And I think those two stories, I believe, like I said in the paranormal, why wouldn't Vince Lombardi haunt Lambeau Field? He worked there tirelessly. That was really his first home. He was rarely home. If you watch some documentaries about Lombardi or read books about it, which I have, I've read all his books and seen all his documentaries. The guy was a workaholic, and that's kind of a shame because that led to his death, which was really terrible to hear. Like, he got colon cancer because he kept working and he never got it checked out. And that's how Vince Lombardi died, which is a shame. So, yes, there's been other two hauntings of Curly Lambeau where people have said they've gotten there early in the morning, like custodial guys, and have seen like a shape that looks to them like Curly Lambeau walking around the field. So yes, it is haunted. They actually do ghost tours, not of Lambeau, but of Green Bay. I thought that was really interesting. But my favorite story, really quickly, Andy, is this. So everybody knows Aaron Rodgers took ayahuasca. Now, the thing is, when you take ayahuasca, it has lingering effects. So this is a true story. I should have put the link in there. I'll put the link in our episode notes where Aaron Rodgers got freaked out and ran out of Lambeau. And you say, okay, what happened? So Aaron Rodgers saw what in the paranormal is called the Hat Man. So the Hat Man is you have to watch some horror movies, I guess, if you have an understanding. But basically, it's this tall, slender, creepy, gaunt-looking guy with this big hat, and he has like usually he'll have like a cane with him, and he's wearing this dark suit. So Aaron Rodgers said he was late in the training room. And he was getting ready to go, and he said all of a sudden he looks out, and the lights start flickering in the training room, and he sees the Hat Man, and he's holding a dead rabbit in his hand. And Aaron Rodgers just booked it out of there, ran out of there, got in his car, took off. And he has said that, like I said, I'll put the story in there. It's a very interesting story. And he says from time to time he has visions of this Hat Man, which, by the way, the visions of Hat Man is an urban legend. And if you do have visions of this evil-looking man, you're usually through some type of stress, or maybe you're doing some type of narcotics. It usually will not appear to you if you're like in a great mood, like Andy was in his spa and having a great time. But if you do see it, I would highly suggest, getting some help, because it usually has to do with some type of psychiatric break or some type of mental issue you are having. But those are some of the stories, some of the spooky stories. I will put those links out there on this episode. You can read through them. But Andy, my good friend, is a skeptic. So what do you think about the paranormal, Andy? What is your feeling about it?
Yeah, I don't know if I call myself a skeptic.
Okay.
Here's some of my thoughts on paranormal activity. If you're all right with that,
Okay.
I'll mention some of those things. We already talked about. We already talked about Sasquatch. We already talked about Bigfoot.
Yeah.
I do believe in that. A buddy of mine who probably doesn't listen to this podcast, I'll have to tell him. I'll mention his name. His name's Rob, and he mentioned to me he was out deer hunting and saw Bigfoot. So I was just joking around with them. I do truly believe in this creature and the possibility of this creature, that this creature does exist. And for him to say something like that, and he was very, very consistent, and he said it kind of, again, scared the bejesus out of him. He might be a great guest for a future podcast, maybe for Dairyland Frights. But I did want to mention that, and so I do believe in that, even though I joke about it with people. I kind of do believe in it, and I believe that's again a possibility. I believe that there are things that just cannot be explained. Since I was just in New Mexico and near Area 51, I will say that humans cannot be so self-centered and egotistical, well, they can be, to believe that we are the only living beings in the entire multitude of galaxies in the universe. Logic dictates, I'll take that from Spock, that there is something else out there in the cosmos. Are there aliens? I believe, yes, there are. Are we the only humanoid life form? No, I don't believe that for a second. And so who or what is considered an alien, that's up for debate, whatever. But I do believe in that as well. I believe that there is a higher plane of existence or alternate realms that we cannot yet comprehend or understand. So that kind of has to do, again, with ghosts, right? A little bit. So I do believe in ghosts. I believe I haven't encountered one yet, but I will say that I have experienced things that would send chills down your spine. So, but
nice.
I think in this episode, because we're going to run way over, I won't, talk about that. But it's very personal to me and happened to me. And it just was something that was, very spiritual. That's all I'm going to say.
Nice.
And so I have been touched a little bit by that, but have not seen a ghost. Okay. But I do believe.
So, nice.
If you're under the impression I didn't, John, I apologize for that, but I do believe.
Yeah, you
I might be a little bit more skeptical. I'm a little bit maybe more skeptical than you are on that front, but I do believe that there is that possibility. Okay, legitimately that possibility.
So that is the spooky part of the episode here for Packers Blitz. So we wanted to put a little bit of so let's do this. Let's go right to the Packers Broncos preview. We can talk about coaching next time, because I have a feeling if we lose this game, we're gonna really talk about coaching. What do you say, Andy? Does that sound good?
Oh yeah, I think it's going to come down to that too, and I'll get to that in a little bit. I mean, can Sean Payton out coach Matt Lafluer or vice versa? So it could come down to the coaching in this game and who's the better coach. So I'm glad you mentioned that. So
yeah.
So do you want me to go through the very general overview of both teams and everything?
Yes, and I'm going to steal your thunder a little bit.
Right ahead.
Is this a must-win to save the season? Can I answer that first?
Sure.
I think it is, because this puts us at 3-3 and gives us some hope, a little bit of hope of maybe sneaking in, because there's a lot of last Sunday I watched a lot of bad football. A lot. The Bears Vikings game was unwatchable. It was
awful.
Horrible.
Yes, I watched that game. I actually watched it.
I just said, and then the Giants at Buffalo.
Oh my gosh, that was even worse.
Night game. That was even worse.
Yeah.
I mean, you can go down the line of bad football. So it's like, to me, okay, maybe we have a chance here. But what do you think, Andy?
I definitely agree with you. So we can't go 2-4. If we can get back to 3-3 at least, that would be great. That would be awesome. And then hopefully a win against the White Queens on what is it, October 28th? 29th? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So then possibly we get above 500 and we're 4-3 and hopefully good to go. We're going to start playing some tougher teams very soon here. Yeah, so you got to win these games against beatable teams, and the Broncos are 1-5, and they're definitely beatable. So, yeah. So I watched the Broncos lose to the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Broncos are very similar to the Packers in a lot of ways.
Oh boy.
Both teams have starting quarterbacks that are still figuring out the offense and their head coach's expectations. Both teams have almost identical stats across the board. I'm not going to go through all of them because they aren't very good anyway. But anybody wanted to look at those, they're pretty close. Both teams lost to the Las Vegas Raiders. Both teams had a longer week and a half to 2 weeks to prepare. So we've had a couple weeks, but actually Denver, because they played a Thursday night game, have had about a week and a half to prepare. So that's pretty even too. On offense, the Broncos took week 6 off against the Chiefs. They literally took the week off. In week 5, the Packers offense took the week off too. So very similar again. So the Broncos may be 1-5, but they have played a much tougher schedule with the likes of the Chiefs and the Dolphins. The Packers are now 2-3, but have played exactly 500 teams so far. So I added up the records of the teams they played so far, John, and they're 500. Okay. So exactly 500. And so we're playing the Broncos at Empower Field at Mile High, it's called. It used to be called Mile High Stadium, but now it's Empower Field at Mile High. Packers are favored to win by 1. The over-under is 44 points. So,
oh my God.
Yeah. So as far as the Broncos go, unless, John, you want to comment on anything I've said so far. Okay. The Broncos rank dead last, 32nd, by the way, in points allowed per game, and abysmal 33.3 points per contest. That's what happens when you get 70 points hung on you by the Miami Dolphins in week 3.
Yep.
Hey, Matt, listen to me now, Matt. Dive headfirst into that ocean of Miami game tape and wrangle us some Dolphin game calls.
Yes.
Matt, steal them and implement them. That's an exclamation point, by the way. Please and thank you.
Please.
So, of course, everybody out there, I'm talking about Matt Lafluer. It's like, duh. They dropped 70 points on them early in the year. Try to steal a few plays, please. Sheesh.
Yeah.
So safety Justin Simmons for the Broncos was returning from injury a couple weeks ago, and that has coincided with the Broncos pasty only giving up an 87 quarterback rating, which is still okay in those 2 games. Otherwise, they give up the best rating to quarterbacks in the NFL in 2023. So again, this is a smash game for Jordan Love, by the way, because they're one of the worst teams on defense, especially their pass defense. But they've kind of corrected a few things the last couple of weeks. Safety Justin Simmons coming back helps their defense, just to let you know. So he's an impact player on their D. Okay. Head coach Sean Payton has had ample time to prepare. Yeah. His team had a mini bye. NFL fans will see who the better head coach is. Offensive guru and seasoned veteran Sean Payton or young offensive leaning Matt LaFleur. We're about to find out. That could be the key to the game right there, John. Who out-coaches whom, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Russell Oh, sorry. Rumpelstiltskin. Oh, sorry. Russell Wilson's numbers have actually been good, except for last week against the Chiefs, where he didn't even pass for 100 yards.
Yeah,
Russ was not cooking. A total dud of a performance. The fans in Bronco country realize that even with Russell Wilson as their quarterback, his play at the quarterback position hasn't translated into wins. So
yeah.
that's my comment on that. And John, any comments on the Broncos before I move?
No, they're just a bunch of underachievers. They have a lot of talent on that team. They're just really, really underachieving. Rather than us, who's like doesn't have an identity on offense, I say a little bit to that, but like that Kansas City game, I shut it off because I don't know Russell Wilson. What was he thinking? He was making passes. I was like, is Jordan Love out there? Is that is that Jordan Love? Yeah, it was bad. It was really bad.
Yeah,
So
and they were really bad against Miami and didn't even want to tackle a ball carrier.
No.
They had what 700 and whatever yards of offense that game, and
it's crazy.
They were just horrible. Especially the tackling aspect, like they weren't even trying. So I mean, that's a lack of team effort.
Absolutely.
So hopefully they do that against us.
Yeah, we'll need it. Right? We'll need it.
So the Packers quarterback Jordan Love's last outing wasn't much better than Russell Wilson's latest against a Raiders secondary that hadn't fared all that well prior. The offense needs him to play better, of course. On a positive note, Zach Jacobson of Heavy.com pointed out that Love is the first quarterback in Packers history to throw at least one touchdown in each of his first 5 starts.
Yeah.
Yep. And that goes back to last year, by the way.
Okay.
Love's streak came to an end on October 9th against the lowly Raiders. John, at the end of the season, we'll compare Jordan's first year to Aaron's first year as a starter. So I know you mentioned that you might want to talk about that. We aren't going to talk about that tonight. I think we need a little bit more data before we do that.
We need more time and data.
Yep. Green Bay's pass catchers don't have anyone that has averaged more than 58 yards per game this season. More tight ends and wide receivers need to start doing something. It's like, a lot of Packer fans out there, if you're listening, you're probably like, duh. Running back Aaron Jones has only 14 carries this season. 14. He only has 14 rushes.
He should be coming 14. Back.
The offense needs him to play.
He should be playing.
I hope so. The Broncos have given up a NFL worst 5.9 yards per carry to running backs.
Wow.
Again, there's no excuses, even for A.J. Dillon. There's no excuses. Yeah. Exactly. So hopefully Aaron Jones will be back out there, but only 14 carries. What is this? The 6th game for us? The 7th? 6th?
Yep.
6th game for us. I mean, seriously, 14 carries the entire season. Yeah.
That sucks.
So per data collected from Pro Football Focus by Arjun Menon, whatever it is, Menon, the Packers tandem of Rashawn Gary, Preston Smith, Kenny Clark, and Devontae Wyatt have been getting a, get this, 52.63% pressure rate.
Yeah, I saw that.
Sacks on 31.58 of the snaps. Those 4 rushing together have been absolutely, positively incredible. Of course, there is a sample size caveat here. The 4-man rush has been on the field just 19 snaps through 5 games. However, 10 pressures and 6 sacks in 19 snaps ain't too shabby.
No, it isn't.
No, it ain't too shabby. A side note, last year, the Packers dropped from 2nd to 28th in pressure rate after Gary's knee injury. We talked about this. This year, he's ahead of Micah Parsons and Myles Garrett, widely seen as two of the most valuable defensive players in the entire NFL. He has a pressure rate at 26.3%. That's Rashawn Gary. Only the New York Jets Bryce Huff, I believe his name is higher at 29.9%. Sign Rashawn to a long-term deal.
Yep. By the way, really quickly,
go ahead.
Jair Alexander may not play. He got injured.
Yeah, his back. Yeah, I saw that. His back. Yeah.
All right. Speaking of Packers defensive line
and the linebackers, yeah, Green Bay is 28th in fantasy points allowed to running backs. I listened to that on a podcast today. So with six NFL teams on bye with multiple running back injuries, and if you're desperate for help, get Broncos running backs Javonte Williams and or Jaleel McLaughlin into your fantasy lineups this week. Start them in a good matchup against the Packers. John, I thought I would just bring that up.
Sure.
Talk about fantasy football for once. But yeah, they had Green Bay's ranked 28th in fantasy points allowed to running backs, which basically means they are horrible on run defense. And we talked about that. So I figured I'd just bring it up. Yeah, you might want to start the Broncos running backs against us this week if you're desperate. So last thing I wanted to talk about, and this is probably the most important thing, no excuses, Matt Lafluer. You have had 2 weeks to prepare and are up against a bottom 5 defense. They're probably like last or second last, but I know for sure they're a bottom 5, which has given up the most points. No excuses. Time for the Packers offense to simplify the play calling, to make it simple for his young players, yet gives the opposing defense a different look. How about designed play calls to get Jordan Love out of the pocket and onto the perimeter as a way to stress opposing defenses? How about that? How about that, Lafluer?
How about that?
Go back to basics. Limit mistakes by making it simple. Put his team in a better position to be successful. Simple execution. Simple concepts for a young offense. Keep it simple. Keep it simple, Lafluer.
Yes.
The reality is, right now, defenses do not have much to fear when it comes to Matt LaFleur's offense.
No, not at all.
Unfortunately, we may have to wait until week 8 and have the ghosts of Lambeau scare the Vikings into defeat. Yeah. The other thing, John, I wanted to mention, I didn't mention this, is you could add this in there. A lot of the teams have tape on Jordan Love now. And so they're making adjustments, so that's part of it too. So it's not only LaFleur making adjustments, Jordan making adjustments, keeping it simple, but also you gotta find a way to counteract whatever they're doing. And so they have a lot of game tape now, and we'll see what happens. John, any comment on that?
No, that's really good. I think that's something, we've talked about, so much, just keeping everything simple, just, taking your play sheet, and you should have, you'll see most of these guys, they'll have 2 play sheets, maybe 3 play sheets. You should just have 1 laminated play sheet, one side, that's it. And we're going to run these 10 plays or 15 plays or 20 plays over and over and over and over. And if you execute it, I go back to Vince Lombardi, the Green Bay sweep. You knew it was coming. You knew the sweep was coming. Every week they would run that sweep play. Every week, power sweep. Here it comes. Nobody stopped it. Nobody.
Yep. We dare you to stop us.
We dared you to stop it. And Lombardi, since we had, now again, we don't have the Hall of Fame line that Lombardi had and the Hall of Fame players he has, but they weren't really Hall of Fame players then. But they executed with such beauty
precision.
And precision. It was just you just couldn't. There was nothing you could do. There was literally nothing you could do to try to stop it. Maybe if you're lucky, instead of Taylor running for a touchdown on you, or the Golden Boy running. I can't think of his name right now off the top of my head.
Paul
Horney, thank you. Running for a touchdown. They still got 10 yards of crack. And why? Because it was simple. Okay, I've ran this play 100 times. I know to a second, to a footfall, to an area where I need to be. Okay, boom. And what happened? We won Super Bowls using that play. Super Bowls. And, they did it for years and nobody stopped it. So if people push back and they say, oh, well, it's the NFL and, it doesn't matter. If you run a play to precision, doesn't matter. I bring up, we hate you, Tom Brady. Tom Brady, what did he used to do? Dink, dunk, dink, dunk. It just was, God, stop it. And then he would hit you with a long pass because, you just fell into that trap. And Packers are just not there yet, but they got to be there. So anyway,
but those great Packers offensive, the Brady offensive, those offenses, all those offenses, all 11 players knew what they were doing.
Right, do what they're doing.
Players were in sync.
Right.
They were
a young team.
and they did their assignments the way they were supposed to. And that's been the problem. We have such a young team.
Yes.
And we've had so many injuries, which is all excuses, whatever.
Yeah.
But because of one player or a few players messing up, that's where you have breakdowns. I'm just saying, it only takes one.
Yep.
And that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And it's the truth. It's the truth. Yeah.
So predictions.
Yes, predictions. So, by the way, Yahoo reported that 8 of 10 NFL experts / prognosticators picked the Packers to win this week, all by 7 points or less. So, up on my screen, I had a big graphic with 10 experts. 8 of them picked us to win. The predictions ranged from the likes of 17-14 to 27-20. That was the highest score, the 27-20. Packers win 8 times. 2 picked the Broncos to win 24-21 and 23-22. I have no idea how you even get to 22. I'm sure you
how
can
do you
do
get
it.
to 22?
I don't know what was up with that.
So I'm just gonna move on.
I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me. I was just
like,
what score is that? Yeah, I have no idea. That ain't happening.
That
he was just trying to keep it within the 1 point.
Yeah, I was trying, cover it,
So I guess John, I'd like to know what your prediction is. I don't know what it is, but basically 3-2 on the year in 2023. You can see what my prediction is, but what's yours?
See. So here it goes. This is our get right game. If we don't get right on this game, I'm gonna lose my mind. We win in one of the most boringest games in the planet, 14-13. It's a slugfest. It's really boring. I just see that. I just see it's a boring offense is 3 and out, a lot of punts, but the Packers score early, couple of touchdowns. The Broncos try to come back on us and can't do it. And we walk out of there with a 14-13 win. Ugly win, but we will take it. So there you go. Andy, your prediction.
I'm predicting, like I had way back before the season started, I predicted the Broncos were gonna win this game, and I think that's gonna happen. So I have the Broncos winning. Sorry, Packers fans out there.
Yeah,
Broncos 24, Packers 19. So, John, Packers Blitz fans, I predicted again that loss earlier in the year, so I'm just sticking with that. So my reasoning for that, and I've got several reasons why, so I'll go through that. Why not? I don't want to pick the Broncos, but I just think they're going to win. So.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yep. So number one, Sean Payton is the slightly better coach. The second reason, the Mile High's thin air will play a factor in the game. The Packers are going to run out of oxygen. Remember, I was just in Santa Fe, New Mexico, which is the start of the Rocky Mountains mountain chain, and went to about 6,000 feet above sea level to about 8,500 feet above sea level where I was at. It went up even higher. So it's extremely hard to breathe. I know this firsthand when you go from Wisconsin to Colorado. So I'm just thinking that they're going to run out of juice. The Broncos are the more veteran team, which isn't saying much. Most teams are more veteran than us because we're so young.
Pretty much everybody.
But I think in this case, something's going to happen where a veteran's going to make a play for the Broncos, and that may be that. The Packers should be 1-4, by the way, and have already proven that they cannot beat bad teams. So that was my fourth reason why. The last reason why, the Packers offense has been the walking dead the past 2 weeks. If the Packers offense doesn't come alive against Denver, when will it? I hope that Matt Lafluer will be able to say, like the late, great Gene Wilder from the all-time great comedy Young Frankenstein, life, do you hear me? Give my creation life. By that, I mean, Packer fans, if you're following that reference, is Matt Lafluer needs to come up with that creative game plan to win the frickin' game.
Yeah, absolutely.
So great movie, by the way, John. It was funny because I was on vacation and that movie came on, and I watched pretty much the whole thing because it's really so good. And I had never watched it in its entirety. I always saw little snippets of it, and it was just hilarious to this day. So Packer fans out there, watch Young Frankenstein. It's Mel Brooks movie.
One of his best.
Yeah, Gene Wilder was absolutely fantastic in it.
Yes.
Great cast in it. Peter Boyle plays Frankenstein, I believe. He passed away, so is Gene. There's a lot of great actors in that movie, and great movie. So great Halloween movie to watch too. So
yes, very funny.
So John, do you have any rebuttals, arguments? You're changing your mind now? Are you going to stick with your score 14-3, 14-13?
I'm still going to stick with 14-13. I just have a feeling it's going to be an ugly game. Hopefully we come out on the winning side. So
yeah, I hope you're right. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm, then I'll be on the season 3-3 and you'll be 4-2. You'll take a
we can
2-win advantage over me, which will be just fine. Because if the Packers win, it'll all be worth it. But I just don't feel good about this game. Just like you didn't feel good about the Oakland game. I'm not feeling good about this one. And I haven't felt good about this one since before the season when I saw the schedule come out. So we shall see, won't we?
Yes.
So we're about to wrap things up, everybody.
Wrap it up.
According to Chris, I have no idea what his last name is.
Rosvoglu
of the spun.com. This is what Chris has to say. Packers head coach Matt Lafleur acknowledged that Jordan Love will deal with growing pains in his first full year as the team starter. That's why he believes it's on the coaching staff to get this season back on track. The Packers will try to snap their 2-game losing streak this Sunday against the Broncos, end quote. Packers fans, Packers Blitz fans, this is a must win, and a must win the week after against the Minnesota Vikings at glorious Lambeau Field. John, you're going to that game, right? You're at that game? Okay.
That's correct.
So, John, anything you want to say in the wrap up here before we?
No, other than I already talked about James Robinson. He signed to the practice squad. He here's some stats if you want them. Stat from Stat Andy, over 1,000 yards, caused 49 passes for 344 yards as a rookie with the Jaguars in 2020. That was the game the Packers played against him. I think he played with the Giants too. He was hurt. He is a message sent pure and simple to AJ Dillon. Look, you can be replaced if you don't get going. This is all this is, because we got to go from there.
I believe, John, just one thing to add on that. I think he tore his Achilles, and ever since that happened, he hasn't been the same player. So I'm pretty sure that's very similar to Aaron Rodgers in that way. But we hope Aaron comes back quickly from that and is the great player he's always been again. James Robinson's been bouncing around the league. He got cut by a couple teams already this year. So he's on our practice squad at the moment.
Yes. And so, again, Packer Blitz fans, we love to have Andy back. We're excited about, the season, but we know it's going to be, we have some patience, but we got to keep things simple. But one of the things I want to say, Andy, I want to tell you, and I want to thank Diehard Packers Fan on Facebook. They're actually a club that I joined for us, Andy. They gave us a badge as Diehard Packers Fans Podcast Choice.
Wow.
So we are the choice of Diehard Packer fans, at least on this Facebook site, which is really exciting. I'm glad that we're getting a little bit of notice here because we love what we do. And speaking of love what we do, make sure you like and subscribe at Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to Packers Blitz. Make sure you rate us 5 stars because, again, Andy and I are doing our best and we're trying to grow this podcast and to, eventually have some fun things we can do in the future with this. The other thing I wanted to say, like I said, we also are on YouTube, so you can listen to us on YouTube and the podcast channel. And, again, I love doing this with Andy, even though this season hasn't worked out the best way. We kind of knew that going in. So hopefully we'll continue to grow. Like I said on last episode, is grow and develop. And hopefully, be able to, who knows, sneak in to the playoffs. If not, maybe have a winning record. But again, we're Packer fans. We're loyal. We love our Packers. And so with that, go Pack go.
Go Pack go.
All right. Love you, buddy. Talk to you later. Peace out.